book review on Played As It Lays and Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion. The last time I did a book review, I was reviewing The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis, and he mentions Joan Didion a lot throughout that book, and it inspired me to reread Played As It Lays, and I couldn't find my actual individual copy of that book, but I do have this compilation copy, so I reread Played As It Lays, and then I read Slouching Towards Bethlehem for the first time. I'm going to start with my review on Bethlehem because I have more commentary on it because it's the first time I read it. These are my notes on Slouching Towards Bethlehem. JoanDidion.org, using the word dislocation in the synopsis is completely apropos in describing mood to the essays. Yeah, I stand by that. I don't know why I wouldn't. I wrote that like 4 hours ago, but the word is just perfect for describing it. Dislocation, decentralized, like all great words to describe these political counterculture movements that realistically have no like soul to them and lack initiative and are way too secular. Then I wrote, it's hard not to draw parallels between the cultural attitudes then and now. The decentralized nature of leftist movements will always be their downfall in an attempt to be ever exclusive and ever expansive. They leave everyone amok and not realizing the importance of objectivity in life, labels, self, and literally everything. Then I wrote a little cliff note to that says, subjectivity proliferates through leftist movements, which is a very Western thing. And I'm not saying Western thing in the sense of political ideology, I'm more so saying it in like a general like cultural attitude. There is an emphasis on nuance and subjectivity that I think really isolates people. The emphasis on nuance and subjectivity creates a simulacrum of empathy, strips the human experience of relativity, the one human experience practically guaranteed to yield empathy because one can relate. And then some random notes about how Eastern philosophy denounces subjectivity, yada yada yada. I loved the book, obviously. I read it pretty fast. I think one of the most amazing things about Joan Didion is her ability to remove herself from whatever it is she's writing about. And I think Slouching Towards Bethlehem and Played As It Lays are great examples of that, because obviously Played As It Lays is, it's heartbreaking. Like if you actually think about what's happening in the book, it's heartbreaking. But she completely removes herself, which obviously the character of Mariah is it's pretty indicative that it's her writing for herself. But it's just amazing how disaffected the narrative is in that book. And I know I say that all the time, but it is something I'm really interested in, and I like to see what vehicles writers use to get there. I think that's why a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, generally she's pretty left, but the one critique I hear of Joan Didion all the time is that she's mechanical or she's not emotive, and I actually find her at times to be more emotive than Sylvia Plath or like etc. etc. More so to talk about the book specifically, there was something in the preface I found pretty beautiful. I'm just gonna read this chunk from the preface that was really good. It was the only one that made me despondent after it was printed. It was the first time I had dealt directly and flatly with the evidence of atomization, the proof that things fall apart. I went to San Francisco because I had not been able to work in some months, had been paralyzed by the conviction that writing was an irrelevant act, that the world as I had understood it no longer exists. If I was to work again at all, it would be necessary for me to come to terms with disorder. Oh, so you're the goat. Anyways, essays I liked the most from it, the eponymous essay and also the one about John Wayne and the first one about the like woman who kills her husband. Those were very good. I have a couple more notes I want to add really quick. She is immaculate with pacing as well and really knows where to like cut things off. The last 4 lines of Play It As It Lays are, or why am I saying 4? The last lines of Play It As It Lays, they are, I knew what nothing meant and I still decided to play. Holy shit, what a good sentence. But Slouching Towards Bethlehem leaves off on these 4 paragraphs that are documenting her time in San Francisco, where she ends up either at a warehouse or apartment, I don't remember, and it's just like a ton of hippies, and there's a child on the floor who's about like 4 or 5 on LSD. And the paragraphs don't really use any adjectives. If anything, they are like littered with verbs and descriptors that really penetrate like so deeply and evoke such a sense of like, this is the most provocative thing that I've read in my life, even though I can open my phone and see 10 videos that are, you know, way more provocative than that. Those last 4 paragraphs are just like perfect for highlighting how the counterculture movement was really just like this force of chaos with nothing behind it, and that is horrifying and scary, and I think it's what so many bands like in in the 90s were like writing about with like Sonic Youth. Was completely transgressive, and I think something a lot of people don't realize about Los Angeles, but California as a whole, is like it's a very transgressive place. And that's inherently interesting to read about, maybe narcissistically, because I occupy that environment. But I'm going to take my melatonin and go to bed now, so I can go to work tomorrow. I'm taking 4, or probably about a month.
You don't need nobody. Yeah.